We were, of course, being brought up on an island where there was 98% black people in my country. All the power and the economy is in the hands of 4% white people. So as a young kid, this was a concern for me. The 4% was rich and wealthy, 98% poor, depressed. And my father was a Baptist preacher. So I asked my father, is God prejudiced? Is God racist? Why does God make those people rich and we poor? Why are they on that side of the fence and we on this side of the fence? Why can't we go to their schools? Why can't we drink to their fountains? Why can't we go to their cinemas? I mean, it was apartheid basically in our nation.
Yeah.
And so my father couldn't answer me. Being a pastor, I thought he could have, at least, consoled me. But he said, look, son, it's just the way it is. We got to accept this. And I'm thinking, this can't be the way it is, because if God loves and if God is wealthy and God is powerful, why am I poor? Why am I sleeping with roaches and rats? Why am I living in, on a mat? And
why are you being called a nigger?
Oh, listen, the names that they called us was amazing. All of my teachers were white teachers from Scotland, England, Wales, and their attitude toward us was not the best. And so I grew up with this very oppressive, depressing environment. But I decided, if there is a God, I need to meet him myself, because I don't like the one my father's talking about. And 13 years old, I went out in that wooden house, out on the island, looking at the sky. I saw the stars, and I said, if you were there, say something to me. Nothing. I said, if you were there, show me a sign. Nothing. I said, if you were there, show me some evidence you exist. Nothing. And I became very frustrated as a teenager, and I said, I guess God doesn't exist. And then I heard a voice in my mind. The voice simply said, I never told you to see me, hear me, touch me, or feel me. I told you to believe me. If you believe I exist, you believe in me, then I will reveal myself. So here I am, 13 years old. I'm hearing this voice, and I go, okay, I believe you exist. And then the voice says, yes, but the devils also believe I exist. So then the voice says, don't just believe I exist, believe me. I said, believe you what? Believe what I said. I said, what did you say? Then the voice says, read the 4 Gospels. So 13 years old, I picked up the Bible, couldn't understand all this stuff. This book called the Bible. Yeah. And I began to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the 4 Gospels of the New Testament. And I read them through. By the time I was 14 years old, I had memorized the entire 4 Gospels. Memorized them. I knew everything about the content. And what happened to me was I was introduced to a perspective of God I never saw before. And that changed the way I thought about myself, about the world, about people. And I began to believe that nothing was impossible. And so from that point, I went to school, age 14. I had a white teacher from Scotland, Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson came to the class, 38 little black kids, and he began to talk to us about the fact that we were not complete humans. We were half-breed humans. Black people can't learn sophisticated things. He told me that I was a half-breed monkey. I will never learn. My brain was not developed properly. I was retarded.
Teacher in school?
The teacher told us this. And he stood before my desk and hit on the desk. He says, you're stupid. You're black. You're a nigger. You can't learn. You are retarded. You are uneducable. I mean, the words, I remember the words. And I sat there weeping as a kid. Because this man was telling us these things. And I was an F student in his class. F. Failing student.
Yep.
So my conclusion was, maybe he's right. He says, you're a half-breed monkey, retarded, uneducable nigger. I said, maybe he's right. I went home and told my mom. I said, Mom, the teacher said that I am retarded, I'm a half-breed monkey, I am uneducable, and I am a nigger whose brain is not developed. My mother said, don't you ever say that again. She shook me. And then she gave me this book that she called the Bible. She said, memorize this statement. It was a statement in the Bible. And it simply said, now unto him who's able to do exceedingly abundantly above, far beyond all I can ever ask, think, or imagine, according to the power that worketh within me. Now you know I know it, right?
Yeah.
That's how fast I said it.
What book is that? What?
Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20.
I knew that.
Powerful. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. See, Jeff got this down to science. Right. So I memorized it, and let me quote it slowly. It says, now unto him who is able to do exceeding above all you can ever ask for, think about, or imagine, according to the power that worketh within me. By the time I finished memorizing it, after 3 hours, I suddenly realized that what I imagined was possible, and the power was not in my teacher, it was in me. I went back to the school and I decided I'm going to educate myself at age 14. So I read all the books on geometry, the books on English, the books on history. I memorized all of the calculations of algebra, and my classes turned around. In 3 months, I became a B student. In 6 months, an A student. I graduated top of the school the following year, and I became the #1 student in the school by the time I graduated from high school.
What did Mr. Robertson say?
Well, I tell you what, Mr. Robertson was a problem, because when I graduated, they gave me a plaque as the most, improved student in the school. I took the plaque and took it to Mr. Robertson. Mr. Robertson, this is for you from a monkey.
Oh, you did.
But the story doesn't end there. Of course, I got punished when I got home. My mom says, you gave the plaque away? I said, yes. I gave it to the teacher who told me that I was not able to learn. A few years after that, I went to college. I got 3 bachelor's degrees in 4 years, a master's degree in 18 months, 5 doctorate degrees that I have today bestowed upon me by 5 different universities. Well, I'm just a monkey, right? So I went to London to facilitate a leadership training course in downtown London. Hotel was filled with people. Over 500 people showed up. And I'm speaking on leadership. At the end of the session, I'm sitting in the lobby of the hotel. And there's a long line of people. And I'm autographing my books for them. And they were buying books, in that area. And this old white man with a cane walks up to me trembling. He's shaking. And he puts 2 of my books on the table. And I looked at them. One of them was very greasy and dirty, and it was marked up and dog-eared. And I said, sir, I'd like to see my book like this. That means the person read it. I said, thank you so much for reading the book. And the old man said, this book changed my life. I said, sir, that means so much to me as an author. And I autographed the book for him. Then I autographed the new book he had just bought. And I thanked him, shook his hands, and he just stood there. And I said, sir, there's a line behind you. Why don't you allow others to come? And he just stood there looking at me, didn't say a word. And I said, sir, I appreciate you coming to the seminar. Thank you for coming today. Please allow the others behind you to come forward. And he just stood there looking at me, wouldn't move. I said, sir, is there something the matter? And then he said, I used to live in the Bahamas. I said, really? Where? He said, in Nassau, the capital. I said, sir, that's where I'm from. I said, what did you do when you were there? He said, I was a teacher. I said, where did you teach? He said, C.H. Reed's Junior High School. I said, sir, that's my school. He said, yes, I taught there. He said, you don't remember me, do you? I said, no, sir. He said, I'm Mr. Robertson. I said, you, Mr. Robertson. Then suddenly I realized, under all the wrinkles, this old man, bent over, was the teacher who called me a half-breed, nigger, monkey, retarded, uneducable. I jumped up from my table, ran around, I grabbed him and I hugged him, and we hugged each other. He wept on my shoulders, I wept on his, and all these people in the lobby of the hotel downtown London, confused. They said, this black man hugging this white man, and they're crying and kissing each other on the cheeks and everything, and everybody's like, what's going on here? But you see, that moment I realized that this man was transformed by my book. And while we are hugging, he said to me, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm saying, sorry for what? He says, I just took a train from Scotland, took the ferry. When I heard you were coming, your books are up in Scotland in our bookstores. And I saw that you were coming, and I came down to London just to see you, to tell you I'm sorry. I said, sorry about what? He said, I'm just sorry. Then I realized what he meant. And I said, Mr. Robertson, you mean you actually read the book written by a monkey and a half-breed nigger? I said, you mean a monkey changed your life? And he laughed. I laughed. We hugged. We kissed each other. And I said, Mr. Robertson, don't you ever again underestimate a human.
That had hurt him for many years, hadn't it?
Absolutely.
That guilt.
He saw my success, and he remembered that he did not treat me properly. So I tell people, never cancel people. Don't assume you know anybody. And don't speak negative to any child, because in that child could be a best-selling author.
My goodness.
Today, my books are textbooks in that school.
In that same school?
Where he called me a monkey.
Oh.